Good morning, and thank you for spending a few minutes with us today to hit another presentation in our series about year-end reporting. If you missed our last one about the change in the e-file threshold by the feds, check that out on YouTube, and you can get your information about whether or not that new threshold applies to you, where anything over 10 forms you do have to e-file from now on. This one, however, is about TIN matching and Social Security verification and why it's critical to year-end compliance. Obviously, the big reason is I don't want to pay the federal government a penalty. This, just like any other failure in terms of filing 1099s or W-2s, if you're late, if your information is wrong, and in this case, if you have mismatched tax IDs, the fine is as high as $280 per mismatch TIN or SSN. So there's two basic processes. The IRS TIN matching is for 1099s. So if you're filing 1099s, basically of any type, you'll want to do a TIN match to make sure you have that information correct. And then for W-2s, it's a Social Security Association or SSA administration, excuse me. For W-2s and ACA filings, it's very important that you make sure that those are validated. The big reason about TIN matching, and we'll talk mostly about TIN matching today because the two are very similar in terms of what has to happen and why it's important. With 1099s, the most common mistake, most common error is a TIN mismatch, where the name of the company does not match the EIN that you're filing for. So we'll talk about what a TIN is, about how TIN matching works, and then a little thing called the CP2100, which you want to avoid at all costs. So common filing errors right at the top of the list is not reporting tax ID numbers or representing them incorrect, a TIN. Of course, not filing the form when it's supposed to, not meeting the due date, completing the wrong form, using the wrong box on the form, or using incorrect information to complete the form are other common errors. But number one on that list is having a mismatched TIN, and it will get your file rejected, and it will result in you needing to take action. So what is a TIN? For 1099s, a TIN is a Social Security number. In the land of the gig economy, we have more and more of these 1099s being filed under a Social Security number as a contract employee. Employer identification number, you're very familiar with that. That's an EIN. So when a business starts a business, they go to the feds, they get a number. The individual tax identification number is typically issued by the federal government to people who were not born in the United States, and they're used for the purposes of collecting taxes. The one thing that I'm sure you're aware of, like many government agencies, you can use the government agency and go to the feds to do TIN matching. It's a terrible idea. The process is convoluted. It can take an awfully long time. You have to register. You have to go through the hoops that they require. That can take a long time. Can be a problem. So I would always recommend that you use something that's native to your software. If you have an integrated solution within your software, that's the safest way to go about it. It's probably the easiest way to go about it. Now, TIN matching is not required, but again, it's the ability to avoid any of those fines and penalties and wasting time refiling and chasing down these people after you've already filed your 1099s. So if you choose not to use the TIN matching service, again, if you're going to do this by yourself on the website, you're gonna have to fill in that registration process. That can take a month, can take 2 months before you're authorized. The employee, if you have an employee that's looking for that TIN matching, if you do that through the process, they're going to have to give up all kinds of personal information, including mobile numbers, financial account numbers, bank numbers, and they have to use two-factor authentication, which to some employees can be confusing. So again, I would recommend that if you have a TIN matching service available through your software, use it. If you do not, find a service that offers it. I'll just put a plug in for Atrix. We do offer that in our preparer. So once you file the report, you'll get back a code for each of those individuals that you send. I'm not going to go through all of these, but essentially you want a 0. It indicates that the TIN and combination match. If you get a 1, or if you get a 2, or if you get a 3, or if you get a 4, or if you get a 5, you're going to have to do some stuff. That means that the TIN is incorrect, doesn't match, it's missing, it's in the wrong format. So you'll have to correct that. So the thing to know, that once you get this report and you get that code back, the TIN matching report will not give you the correct information. If you get a bad TIN match, you're going to have to get a corrected W-9. You're going to have to go to the vendor or the person that your individual contractor, and you're going to have to get that information corrected to make sure that you're filing for the correct person. That's what that 2100 report is about. If you file and it's wrong, you open yourself to consequences of the CP 2100 process. In October and the following April, the IRS sends out their CP 2100 and 2100A notices to banks, credit unions, businesses, payers, the people who are filing 1099s essentially. Failure to correct them will result in additional fines. The fines get very big, and a requirement to comply with additional withholding requirements. The hard part about that is you can end up with the CP 2100 process where you are required to withhold potential withholdings prior to the year starting. So something you have to hold on account, and you have to do that for up to 3 years before you can get that corrected. So the deal is, make sure those TIN numbers are correct, that they're matched, and that if you get an action report, that you respond to it immediately. Social Security numbers are the same kind of thing that the TIN number matching has. It's a separate process. It's done through the Social Security Administration. Once again, I would recommend you use a third party that offers this service. A lot of software providers offer this as part of their filing solution. I would recommend you use it because the data that you're going to be getting comes directly from your payroll data. If there's something mismatched or something that's wrong, you can go into your host payroll and you can fix it. And that's really an important step. It also becomes more of a step because there's a lot of attention on I-9s right now. The adjustments that were made for COVID have expired. The new requirements have been issued, and verifying that these W-2s, that the Social Security's numbers match your employees is a very important process. And I would include that process with your onboarding. You can do it before you actually hire someone. You can do a Social Security match on someone who you have offered a job and they have accepted it. So you can do that before you actually hire them and put them on the books so that you can find out if there is an issue. It will not tell you whether or not that person is legal to work in the United States, but it will tell you whether or not the name is correct and that it matches the Social Security number that you have been given. And that protects you in large part. And in particular, it will keep your W-2s and ACAs from being rejected. It's going to save you a lot of processing costs. It'll reduce the number of W-2Cs you have to do, and it'll avoid serious fines and penalties. Those things get, again, progressively worse the longer that goes unresolved. It's like any other rejection or misfile. If you don't react within a certain period of time, those penalties go up and up. And they essentially start at $50. If you don't correct it by August, it goes up to $280. And if they believe that you're doing it on purpose, it can get up to $500–600 per W-2. So getting the Social Security numbers verified is an excellent practice for your HR people to begin with, and it's certainly going to save you time and money on the backside when you're filing W-2s and in particular ACAs. It is by far the most common rejection for both of those forms, W-2s and ACAs. The mismatched Social Security number or an improper Social Security number are the most common rejections that will happen. So again, I would add that to your W-2 or to your onboarding process and get that done immediately. But certainly if you have not verified everybody on your payroll, I would go ahead and get that done in one fell swoop. Verify everybody that's current, add it to your onboarding process, and it's something that will take care of itself going forward. So those are what we have. TIN matching for your 1099s, get it done. Use something that's in your software if it's available, or use a solution that you can have that allows you to file it directly yourself without having to go through the federal nonsense. Atrix offers that. If you go to atrix.com/efile, there'll be information on our solution for that. There are others. So TIN matching, get it done. That's something you should do probably every year because the number of vendors you have and the nature of the vendors that you have change routinely from year to year. The W-2 process for Social Security numbers can be handled on a one-time basis, and then adding it to your onboarding process prior to hiring somebody will allow you to avoid having to do a large file every year for Social Security numbers because they will have already been verified. So thank you very much for taking time to listen to us, and look us up on YouTube. Tax Talk is kind of our tagline, so you can find any of our previous presentations on other topics, and hopefully they'll give you some information that you can use. Thank you once again, and we'll see you down the line.